they have the love to continue support the work of the Assyrian Universal Alliance here, especially promote the Assyrian cause. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the state members, parliament, local government, and for their continuous support, both sides of the parties, of the government, of the politics, whether Labor or Liberal. They have been a great support for the cause of the Assyrian people, especially their support to the local Assyrians in Fairfield area, Smithfield area. And at the same time, they're doing a great job, both parties. And for our people in Melbourne, we were just talking this some moments ago about their support that the state government in Victoria assisted the church in building a school there with a donation, with a grant of $400,000. I thank Dr. Ephraim, and this is the first time we meet, I believe, and I'm certain that he is a very passionate person towards the Assyrian cause, and I believe we will enjoy your lecture this afternoon. Yes, I'm pretty sure we will. But let me say a prayer in Assyrian. شمعا وورا وروح القدس العالمين بركتو خمارا والهن بيشين برخري جواتو خدمياتو وبخلطة خمد رزايو بيشين طير سغدانو مشري يماري شينو خشلامو بني أمتنا توريت ايكد بخاينا دوقت بيديو هايرتلون وآتي بتم عذرانا كل زون ودانات يا مارت كل آوا وورا وروح القدس العالمين آمين. أيتم بالسيمة.
Thank you, Your Beatitude. For an official welcome, I will now like to call upon the Deputy Secretary General of the Assyrian Universal Alliance. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Shaheen.
Thank you. خشكريا وخمودخ طوطانوت مرملزية مطربوليطة إيتن قدشتا وكهنا يقيرا وأرخن مغبة قابلوخني وخ بشينا جدها زياخة شيطانية أديوم بطانة وخمنتا من كلوخن هدرتوخن وشركتوخن أمن اتلهيوي بتموريتن خضانا مهنينتا وقانيتن يترانا من خوشيات خرزن ده ليلة يوم تعاطر إلى خيوم بريخة رمزت غالبوطة الزونة خشكانة ودعور ماريرة أهومتا إلى شرايط خضعتيت خاتا وأرخى ختا والخواليت ختا بياشلر شمتا بيت خيادتي ولايا عطورايا قعليمن عليماتا خبيوة وشرب اتياني من برديا أرخد بريا رعشت ختا جبنونا وبناتا اتمخية جاوي عيهيوي تلقتا وقيرة قرطة البلخانة بهونا ويلبانا ومردوطة وخيلة الأرطل أرعاتا زبطنة أرعى قدشتة أوهاتا أرعت آتر آيتهمون وقت إلى خلمة كل خهدام الشريرة اتآها أمتا هاوي يومت آتر بريخة الكلوخن. His Beatitude Mar Melizaya, distinguished and honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Assyrian Universal Alliance, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 9th Annual Assyria Day Conference. I extend a warm welcome and appreciation to the honorable members of Parliament, local government, and for all representatives of the Assyrian and Jewish organization for their presence here today, and more specifically to our youth who have attended this conference. I would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to our keynote speaker, Professor Ephraim Yildiz. It's a pleasure to have you all the way from Spain speaking at our youth conference. Thank you for your time, for sharing your knowledge, and your experience with us. My congratulations again to the young Assyrians for a well-thought and well-designed conference, which clearly shows your determination to deal with the issues on your agenda in a very pragmatic and constructive manner. Ladies and gentlemen, the main objective of reviving Assyria Day is to educate our youth on their history and culture and spread awareness about the indigenous Assyrian existence, about their suffering and their rights to return to their homeland. Youth have a significant and important role to play in the development and building of societies. And societies that have a large percentage of young people are strong societies. This is because the enormous youth energy that drives and elevates them. They are the pillars of any nation and the basis of their development and the builders of its glory and civilization. Luckily, our society is full of young men and women like you who have been blessed with distinctive, bright, and innovative minds, who needs real opportunity to invest their intellectual abilities. It's our obligation as an organization to use all the opportunities and means for our youth to achieve what they aspire to achieve. We must always thank Australia for giving us the opportunities and freedom to achieve the best for our communities. In the meantime, our youth should get involved in local community activities which will boost their confidence and self-esteem and help them build skills and a sense of belonging in their local community. And it gives them the opportunity to make a new friendship and connections. Assyrian seeks peace within the society that welcomes them in any part of the world where the waves lead them. They try to adopt easily and assume the responsibilities of their required citizenship and seek the same rights and privileges for their fellow Assyrians in their homeland. Assyrians have a long history of struggle in the Middle East, whether it's in Turkey, Iran, Iraq, or Syria, and have paid a high price for keeping their name, language, history, tradition, and as much as they could their historical territories. The governments in the Middle East do not acknowledge their indigenous status. They do not compensate them for the crimes against humanity that were committed against them by the successive regimes. They are leaving their homeland not by choice but by force, and we are continuously losing the battle in our homeland due to oppressive governments. However, as long as our youth grow, speak their language, and learn their history, the land will remain Assyria, and we will continue to demand an Assyrian region in northern Iraq, where the Assyrian civilization emerged and flourished more than 7,000 years ago. We will continue to work to eradicate the aggressors from our land in hopes that it will one day be returned to its original owners. On the final note, I express our gratitude to everyone attending Assyria Day. We extend our thanks and appreciation to Multicultural New South Wales for providing the fund to help organizing this event, to all volunteers, and to the management of this wonderful reception. Let us empower our youth to determine their own destiny. We thank you all for your attendance and wish you an enjoyable and successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaheen. Our keynote speaker for the 9th Annual Assyria Day Conference has developed his school and academic training in several countries, including Italy, France, and Israel. After obtaining his baccalaureate in philosophy and 2 degrees in ecclesiastical and biblical studies, he completed his studies with a doctorate in biblical theology, with the consequent linguistic formation in both classical languages, Greek and Latin, and Semitic, Hebrew, and Aramaic. Specialized in Semitic languages, he also manages a large repertoire of modern languages, including Spanish, English, French, German, Italian, Hebrew, modern Assyrian Aramaic, Turkish, among others. Ephraim Yildiz is currently a full-time professor of Hebrew and Aramaic studies in the Faculty of Philology, University of Salamanca, Spain, since 1997. He has participated in several national and international research projects. He is a committee member of several national and international scientific journals. He is also the author and coordinator of a large number of books and articles in national and international journals on Aramaic language, literature, history, and the culture of Aramaic-speaking peoples. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Professor Ephraim Yildiz, with his topic for today, the Assyrian identity and their religious complexity.
Well, meanwhile, thank you very much for this marvelous gathering. It's a special day for me, and I'm thankful. Okay. No, don't worry. I'll take it. No, it's okay. Thank you. So, as I was telling you, it's a huge pleasure for me to be here among you. It's the first time I'm in Australia. So my Qobul Taibuta, special Qobul Taibuta, which means Thanksgiving. Thank you very much for this invitation, where I can share with you a topic which is quite complicated, but I will do my best to summarize. Talking about a topic like this one, the Assyrian identity and their religious complexity, is a very complicated topic, and I'm sure I'm not going to be able to explain it in, if I'm not wrong, 30 minutes, if you are generous in this way. So we will just try to deal with it just as a slight first touch in order to show you the continuity of the Assyrian nation from the very beginning until today. And then where is the biggest difference once we deal with the religious branches that are included in the Assyrian nation. As first part, let me just, where should I focus on? Good. Let's start just in a very short way with the first phase, which takes us to the very beginning of the ancient time. A people, a territory, but different names. Where does the name Assyrian, Babylonian, Chaldean, and so on comes from? So we will deal with the history of ancient Mesopotamia, the race of different groups in Babylonia. As you know, the name Babel, it comes from Karduniash. It's even the ancient name of Babel and Ashur. And then we will deal with the names of different groups since 2300 BC. But let me just take you to a I don't know why it doesn't go. Yeah, okay. Wonderful. Now better, yeah. Okay. Now, yeah. Okay. Sorry. As you know, as any other culture, people, and nations that along the history, our history more or less goes back, let's say, as small kingdoms, city-states, to 5,500 years BC, which means that the first city-states or kingdoms that were started to have an organized existence start from Ur, Uruk, Lagash, Issin, Nippur, Kish, and so on, arriving to Babel, Sippar, and going even to to the Nineveh and Ashur, okay? Where you see the 3 points, which it means that there was a state, structure, organized culture and society. What happened then afterwards? We will jump in order to save time. Thank you. Probably it's my hand. Just I'll tell you to skip because good, it's better now. As you will see, those kingdoms that have been mentioned, then they have been submitted to a central power, which started in 2300 before Christ, under the power of our first Assyrian king, who started, let's say, yeah, you go from 3200 and then go on. Then Sargon the first started putting them under the same control. The idea of an empire goes back to the 3rd millennium BC. Could you please do it? Yeah. Once the Assyrian Empire started becoming bigger and much more powerful, many elements have taken place which haven't been explained in a clear way. Each time there is a change, also the influences from outside came and became part of the Assyrian ancient policy. That's why when the Galuta deportation process started, many changes have taken also place in the Assyrian society. Many people from this side, different Aramean small states, were included in the Assyrian policy and power. Those states that didn't accept from the very beginning the mighty of the Assyrian power, they were used to be transported from their original land to the other part of the Assyrian Empire. And what has exposed as this change? Through this policy, 2 different languages came in touch in a very close way: ancient Aramaic language and Assyrian language. Assyrian language at that time was written in cuneiform script, and the Aramaic language that was written by a consonantic scripture, which we are used to say letters. Imagine 613 or 632 syllabic signs in comparison with 22 letters, or at least they have become 27. So the Aramaic language and the Assyrian language have lived together for at least 200 years. And the simplicity of the Aramaic language has been one of the main reasons why it gradually became part of the Assyrian society. But let me explain you a clear, important point. The simple fact that we call it Aramaic is because of these facts. But in reality, even the Jewish people called it Ashurit, which means Assyrian. So the deportation has supposed a very big change. The division, the geographical, we are used to divide the Semitic languages according to their geographical location. That's why we talk about north. I will tell about it a bit later. But anyway, this part which was more or less inhabited by the Aramean small states, part of them, or most of them, were included in all of them were included in the Assyrian empire system. Part of them, they were deported to the Assyrian heartland. And there are other groups, because now we have a big discussion among the community. We are asking whether we are Assyrians, or we are Chaldeans, or we are Arameans, or we are this and that. Where does it come from? It's due to this fact that many people were gathered together. Two different languages, at least two different languages, shared a huge period of time. So, what we have to take in account for this first period, one thing is the language, but you can be sure whether Aramean or Chaldean or whoever, or even Hittites, because the deportation process, there were Jewish who were transported in 721 and then in the 6th century. There were many people transported from here to the Assyrian heartland, from the south to the north. But each time there was a process of transporting, other people were resettled there. So it doesn't mean that it was emptied. There's a huge mixture of cultures and languages. But all those people who were taken to the Assyrian heartland, they thought as Assyrians, they spoke as Assyrians, they felt as Assyrians, and they worshipped Assyrian gods and so on at that time. Now the question is, how far can a people survive after 200 years, 300 years being considered this, keeping alive their authenticity or their identity? There is no chance. The simple idea of the Roman Empire, that every Roman citizen, wherever he was living, he felt as a Roman. This is not a Roman idea, this was even the Assyrian one. Okay? Let's go just as a short one. So this process was, as you see, from south to the north, from west to the east, and so on. And there are different periods where different people were deported from one side to the other. I'm going to do it fast because I know that we don't have time. The Assyrian managed a huge part of the Middle Eastern territory. Starts from this side, goes until Urartu, and it ended here in the Egyptian territory. What do I want to tell you about this? Many cultures were taken and lived with each other. Many languages and also elements have been kept somehow in different places. But once we are jumping, I'm trying to summarize it because in 30 minutes it's impossible to explain it. Two elements have been kept. When the Achaemenids, the ancient Persians, invaded Assyria, they changed everything, but two things were kept: administrative system and the language. Why is the Aramaic language called lingua franca? It's due to this fact, the changes, but they maintained the language even for the whole region. Even they arrived even until here. So language and administrative system were kept as the Assyrians were using them for centuries. Let's go a bit far and fast. All this period, you see this in different directions. The Assyrian Empire was becoming wider and wider. This has created, let's say, these three linguistic branches, which we call Semitic language is an artificial expression. It has been invented in Germany. Because once the archaeological excavations were undertaken, many inscriptions came out and nobody knew what to do with. And gradually, when they became acquainted with the language, that this is Assyrian language, this is cuneiform script, and so on, they have started classifying the languages according to a name. Semitic comes from Sem. It's a biblical term that has been used as a reference. That's why we have never used it. If you ask to a Middle Eastern scholar what language were used or what linguistic family were used, all these expressions have been developed in Western world. That's why we talk about the Assyrian or the Semitic languages, which are Northwestern, which was Assyrian and Babylonian, and then, or I mean Akkadian, and then the northwestern Semitic, which is Palestine and Syria, Aramaic and Canaanite, from which comes Hebrew and Phoenician and so on, and southwestern Semitic, which is Arab and Ethiopian. I'm trying to do it in a very fast way because we do have much more. Now we are on a period where other change has taken place. The Greeks invaded the whole region. And the main idea of Alexander the Great was not invading only, but it was also he had a whole project to transmit his culture and language. It's during this period where we talk about northern and western Assyrian, Aramaic, and so on. This is why we have the division of our language, because in Antioch, let's say in the region of Syria, somehow the Greek language was kept stronger than in Mesopotamia. So also the Aramaic, the so-called Aramaic language, Imperial Aramaic language, lived again with another powerful language, which was Greek language. So I'm not going to bother you with the whole division. Just that's why we have 5 main periods of the language: ancient, imperial, which is called classical, middle, late, and modern one. Let's have the chance. They are divided into Middle Aramaic. This is the best period of literary production. We are talking about 3rd, 4th century until the 14th century, which is one of the biggest, even bigger than the biblical one, bigger than the Latin one, but is less known. And this is a fact due to the border between the 2 big empires, Persian and Roman one. So the big bulk of literary production really didn't arrive to the Western world. That's why the people do not know about the huge amount of at least 150 authors, not works, authors that have been publishing in our language. So the late Aramaic period, we are in the modern one, where this is the fruit of a policy. When the Muslim power came to the region, there was another again fight with the Aramaic language, or Assyrian Aramaic language. Arabic was imposed as main language because Quran should be transmitted in the Arabic language, and the Aramaic language has survived despite such a huge pressure, but it has been then again separated and the northwestern, central, and eastern one. And now I'll take you back again to the 1st century. According to the Eastern Church tradition, the year 37 is an important year where the apostles got in touch for the first time with the Aramaic-speaking cultures, among them the Assyrians. Okay, Ad-Daimari from it's said Ad-Daimari from Urhai, from actual Urfa, northward. They moved to Adiabene, Hadiab, and then they arrived at the end to Sleaptispo and Seleucus-Ctesiphon. The other tradition is said that also Saint Thomas, it was his first starting point from Seleucus-Ctesiphon. Seleucus-Ctesiphon at that time, it was the capital of the Parthian kingdom, and that's why. So the question is, the apostles, when they started preaching, the first period of preaching was thought only for the Jewish communities. And then after the dialogue, you remember, between St. Paul and St. Peter, they realized that also the message should be also given to the rest of the people. And thus also Hadiab, which was an Assyrian kingdom, was also converted to Christianity as Osra'aine, Osroene, among others. But what happened at that time when Christianity started becoming the main religion in that region? The Assyrians didn't have a specific, let's say, officially recognized political power. They were always under foreign power, like in this period, Persian or Parthian in this case. This is why the two powers, spiritual and material powers, were fused in the figure of the patriarch. That's why the patriarch, from then onward until, let's say, the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the main leader, political leader and spiritual leader was always the patriarch. But there is an important point here. We have been criticized that no Assyrian name was kept, that nobody asks why. So far you change from a religion to the other one. We were polytheists, now we have become monotheists. The main reason why many Assyrian names were changed is because the identification process with the Christian identity, religious identity, was stronger. This is why we are called Ephraim or Joseph or Hannah and so on, biblical names. This is a normal process of every culture who shifts from one to the other religion. Of course, when we started, Ayat al-Madanha is a general term which is used for the Church of the East. Okay, and then different separations have taken place that give even now some headache to our people. I'm this, I'm that. There's a big confusion between religious identity and ethnical and national identity. But let me tell you, even during the first period of the Christian era, the Assyrian region was well considered and named during centuries. Even by the Romans, there is a region which is called Assyria, okay? This is for those who say, yeah, the name Assyrian has been invented by in the 19th century. No. If you go through the history, the name Assyria as region, as a separate people and nation is always given Assyria. You can go through the history, 117, during the Roman Empire. This region is called Assyria. You can go even far late. You arrive until 387, 599. If you have a look at the map, you will see three different Assyrian small kingdoms. Osroene, Edessa is the capital, Hadyab, and also Arbel. Assyria. Arbel is like the capital of Assyria at that time. So this is one of the main important issues that must be taken into account each time we talk about the history. It should be transmitted according it deserves and not according to the specific interests of a certain group. Where do we have such a division of names? As I told you, I insisted on the fact that our identification process, the religious one raised and the national one went down in benefit of the religious one. But once there were problems, the church as a whole, until 313, it was in the Roman Empire, it was persecuted. From the Edict of Milan of 313 onward, it gradually has become, first it was accepted as a new religion, and then in a very short space of time, it was converted into official religion of the Roman Empire. From then onward, big problems raised. Now the questions was not whether we are going to survive, but what are we going to build as a structure? What are we going to offer to our members? Many questions raised. There's a first crisis which says, due to Arianism, are you sad? No, the son can't be equal as the father, first race. And then we went back until, let's say, the 6th century, where different questions raised. Also, all these problems, although they were, let's say, they raised in the Roman territory, and then they become problem of the Church of the East. The main problem was when Nestorius, Mar Nestorius, insisted on the fact that you can't call Mary as mother, Yimad Allah or Theotokos. He said Christotokos. Also, the Christological disquisitions or problems have become a big problem. Such problems then arrived to the territory of the Church of the East, and since then we were called wrongly Nestorians or Jacobites. After 500, let's say 5 centuries, now we have been baptized. That's true. So the Church of the East then split it again and again and again and again. And allow me to tell you a thing. We are Semitic people. And our emotional balance sometimes doesn't have the same, let's say, balance like the Western world. Or you are this or you are that. You can't be this and that at the same time. Or I can't respect you with these values. So the Semitic emotional part is somehow a danger for their own interests. This is why we are so often separated. But let's give a hope. I'm sure that we will, at the end, be one people, one nation, and one language. Why not? I hope so. So all these problems have become a kind of separation from the 5th century onward. All the separations, and here is Marmelis, and he can confirm it, the people have never separated, but the church leader, they have tried to, let's say, focus on their own interests, whether they are this or that. But the people, the simple people, have never separated. So all our separations or divisions are from a religious point of view, not a national or ethnical one. But then gradually they have become, in the last century, a problem, because we can't distinguish the two, let's say, the 2,000 years history can't be just separated in a sudden. As I told you, the figure of patriarch was political and at the same time religious. And now we have different names, Assyrians, Chaldeans, Nestorians, and so on. And we don't distinguish this religious one in relation to the ethnical and national one. As I'm used to say, I am Assyrian and I belong to the Chaldean church. What's the problem? No problem. But anyway, this has become now a discussion which must be solved gradually. That's why in different pairs, the first division, big division, has been taking place between the Jacobites and the Nestorians, or the Church of the East has been divided into these main groups. And then gradually we arrived to the 16th or 15th century, where part of the Church of the East again separated. In 1445, a small group led by Martimotos from Tarsus, they separated and they have been called by Pope Eugene IV Chaldeans. Since then, but the first step of this union with Rome wasn't really taken seriously. In 1553, 51, for the first time, this, again, a part of the Church of the East separated. I'm talking about Urmia, Mosul, Diyarbakir, and so on, where a small number of dioceses of the Church of the East, they try to regain the union with the Roman seat. And the name was given to them. They have been called Chaldeans. But I can show you in the written texts, even then, when the topic is related to the people, they are called always Assyrian. Even in texts of the 16th century, it's not just of, as people have been saying, that the name Assyrian is the fruit of a policy of Protestants who were settled in Urmia and so on. It's not the real history. So different names, have been given, Syrian, Chaldean, Aramean, Syrian, Syriac, and so on, but they haven't really been explained. We have to distinguish clearly religious denominations from the national one. We are Assyrians, but we belong to the different church branches. This is very simple, but we have to know to live with. And now, I beg your pardon, just a second. I'm going to finish here. I'm going now. I haven't been able to talk about the projects we are undertaking at the University of Salamanca. I'm professor there since 1996, 97, and we have been gradually working on different projects. Now we have a whole degree in Hebrew and Aramaic studies, but at least 45% of the subjects are directly related to our language, history, and literature. Literary texts are taught for 2 years, 3 years language, ancient, late, and modern one. Modern Assyrian is taught for a whole year there. And grammars are being published and professors are being trained there. Allow me to introduce you the next step we are going to deal with, the Nineveh Academic Chair. We are working on a long-term project. We have ensured the basis, and now we are focusing on, how would I say, on those aspects that are directly linked to the Assyrian modern language, literature, and history, because this is also a project that needs absolutely to be fostered. I'm not going to show you the, or if it's just a minute, but I would probably try to avoid it. This is the Nineveh Academic Chair of University. We will launch it probably in September, and I hope to have Marmelis there when it is going to be created, with the aim of creating different working groups who must focus on language, history, and literature. This is my field. This is where I can work on. So I'm not dealing with political issues. I'm not dealing with any other issue that is not linked directly to the academic part. So scholarships will be, if we are successful, and you will be helpful in this case in order to contribute. You are students especially, you have the obligation to invest in your own legacy, in your own cause, in our own cause. I'm telling you, but it's my one as well, and that's why. So different activities and will be undertaken. Especially, I'm focusing on this part: scholarships for the Assyrian new generation. We have to train our people. Young generation must be trained, because our history, our language must be transmitted. Also, from our perspective, I'm very thankful to any Western scholar that has been dealing with our topics. But now it's time that we, by our own, also start giving a vision of what we are, of what our language is, and how our traditions are. This is why I'm asking you to invest in such a project. It's just a question of putting the efforts together. We will also deal with different activities like congresses. Next year probably is going, for the first time, take a congress place, which will talk about, from different perspectives, about these denominations. Probably this will be the first congress we are going to launch, in order to ensure, from an academic point of view, who we are, what our language is, and so on. I'm going to finish. This is just, for those who want to help with, but I will now finish with As you have realized, I haven't said even a single word in our language. Wherever I go, if I don't talk in my language, I go back very sad. So this is why, as I have been told that we were going to be just, we were going to celebrate the Assyrian Day. When I was invited, I started writing a poem in our language about what Assyrian Day should be for us. And if you allow me, I will just read the poem I have prepared. This as a gift for our Assyrian community in Australia. I'm very sorry for those who are not from the Assyrian origin, but I ask you to be patient. This is our dream, and probably you know how we appreciate it to talk in our mother tongue. يوم آشر يوم اليوم بني آشر قوم وحزوا آشر قيمة إديو هيا وحزوا رعوش طيمة وشقول طمعة دراشوت بشبرة وطاسوت مبيرة بني أمتي ديو يوم اليوم مطل آشر تملي زون دلومة مطيلة دانا دل عمي ميد عشمي قمايا لبناي شعريري ولبني عمي. Next one. I beg your pardon. يوم آشر إدي شعريرة كلن كبيش مطل إدي شيرة لناشد زونة آشر ليل خيرة هنسن يهكب دهاو بشيرة يوم آشر كهاو كل دانا مطل آتوراي سري بخسيويانا لناشد دلعمخ لقيت عذرانا آشر بلبخ بهاوي ريمة ومقيمانا. My one is, I don't know why it doesn't go. Okay. إديو يوم شعريرة حبة قبلت إله أخ موهوت دلبة آديلة أرحى أتقابل كل خجبة مقرو نوشخ الأطرة وأبا آشر إديو دخرانة بريشة آشر إديو لأرعه ويشة إيدا دياله مزونة قريشة برام إديو الشمه كلها كبيشة إديو يوم شعريرة حبة قبل ولا لا I don't know why. Yeah, it's better. Yeah, thank you. عمد عاشر بجالوتا. Galuta means diaspora. عمد عاشر بجالوتا إديو إريا بخيلك على مد أطرب عاشر إريا إن كبخ يوما بأطر شميا يلبخ ملبخ للشان إديو شليا علي مد عاشر to the youth علي مد عاشر خزو كما من دي بريا بيرد عاشر بلخ أخ أريا صحيا شقلت أطرم إيدة سنيا لبنيته أدنين وهاوت إيدة دريا قو مرم ريشخ مزونة قطيا تخ عينخ واليلبانا إيدخ هاوت دريا لب وملب جزخ إيلم ده ومليا قبل شبرة مطل كل بحبة كليا يوم آشر هاوي يوم تربيتا education لناشد حيلخ إيل إيدعتا بيلبانا بقالت إيتوتد أمتا برنيد مدعد يقرأ تحخمتا يوم آشر إديو إريا كل دكتا بني أمتك بوشن إديو النين ممديتا يوم تيلد آشر بيشا قبلتا معم وأمواتا وكل بريتا تيلد أنا دبني أمتي قيمي لبنايا أطرى وشمة أنقي تيلد شقلي هوايا مطل مزونة يريخة كلية هويلي ببخايا مبلح ريشخ دبخي دنينوي آتلك لايا. I hope you are enjoying it. بنينوي بنونو بناتا قوم لكباشا دخراند أمتن كاوهاشا مخزن يقرد آدياتا الكل خناشا يوم آشر مليا مبهرة وشمشة إن إد بهرة باهر هونا إن إتهونا بخازقونا بيه قبلخ شبرا تزونا هاشكر أحشخ دبريلي رمزة كينا آتوراي القويامة شاريرة مشورية لشقلت بيت نهر إيدا درية إديو بسدني صبرة بنينوي يوم 12 أريا بكل دنيا قويامة قمايا بالخط يلبانا درخت ريانا دوراشها وبغدانا خعمد لهونا بهرانا ومبهرانا لك ماطي ولك كامل بصورة معليانا تربيتها ويا حيلة أمد آشر يلبانا هاوي قرمة دوبارد أمد آشر بوداقة research investigation بوداقة هاوي حوباتد كل بني أمتد آشر كشيروت هويا دميا دبنيانة حويادد آشر ليمي د آشر ديو يوم إلى ديوخن آشر بعليا درخانا إيد بلخانا كشيرو توخن تخروتن اد أمتن أرحمت إلى صرت بيوخن كل خمندد آتي العوادة كاول حب كل لوخن I'm finishing يوم آشر يوموخن بنيت آشر بالخونوخن إيتوت آشر حبوخن شورايت آشر حويادوخن دخرانت آشر آتي دك بشتوخن قالت آشر ما طلبوخن شمت آشر هاوي شو هاروخن شو بارت آشر آمق شبرت آشر آمق بلبوخن عليمي إديو جمير بقريانا بيرد آشر ريمة وهونانا لشوقة راحق من خلشانا إلا مقوت وسندت أو يلبانا عمد للشانا لا يتلقى على مريشانا للشانا آشر بها ونشيا مدان الدانا مطلهانا قارت ويلبت ديلانا عيد قبل الشانا قمرته عمقت كالشيرا عيد بيه أخ أمانة as professional. And now finishing بيدعتد للشانخ مشوتي بتكسخ كتاوب للشانخ الطيرة بخازد جانخ بقريت بلشانخ برعشت بشبرة قالخ وبكملتا بلشانخ طاصت طمد دكيانخ كانوا your nature. Thank you very much. تودي. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ephraim, for your very educational and engaging presentation. I'd also like to announce that upon the request of Professor Ephraim Yildiz, the Young Assyrians are organising a special meeting for all of our youth this coming Tuesday between 7:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. It'll be held at the AUA conference room near the library in Stocklands, Wetherill Park. So if you're interested in attending, please provide your name and contact details to the front desk. Yeah.
No, interested not, you are obliged to come. So I'm for you here, the young, okay, the youth. So I would be very happy to have you there. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a passionate and great supporter of the Assyrian national cause. She has made many representations on behalf of the Assyrian Universal Alliance in the State Parliament of New South Wales. Representing the Honourable John Sidoti MP, can we please welcome the Honourable Tanya Davies to the stage?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to join with you today to commemorate and to spend some time considering and learning more about Assyria Day. I honestly wish I had been placed in the order of proceedings before Professor spoke, because I feel what I have to say the next couple of minutes is just going to be so lame in comparison to the presentation we've just all witnessed. What an outstanding presentation, and I think someone of your experience, knowledge, passion needs an entire day to impart just some of what you have to us. So thank you so much for inviting me to join with you this afternoon. May I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands upon which we meet, the Gabrogal people of the Darug Nation. Pay my respects to elders both past, present and emerging. To all the distinguished guests who are here, may I please also acknowledge His Beatitude Mar Melisaya, Metropolitan of the Assyrian Church of the East, all other clergy and chaplains with us today. My parliamentary colleagues, Guy Zangari, member for Fairfield, Hugh McDermott, member for Prospect. I understand that Reverend the Honourable Fred Nile was also attending today. May I also acknowledge Mayor Frank Carboni, Fairfield City Council, Councillors Dia Lee and Paul Azzo. Can I also please acknowledge Hermes Shaheen, although Hermes and David they're just always present. They're never not anywhere. Hermes Shaheen, Deputy Secretary General in Syrian Universal Alliance Australian Chapter, Mr. David, President of the Syrian Australian National Federation, Professor Ephraim Yildiz, we've just heard from, outstanding, and to all other dignitaries present here, Principal Edward Dinka from St. Naseh Assyrian Christian College in my electorate, Carmen Lazar and others, welcome. It's a wonderful pleasure to be with you this afternoon to commemorate Assyria Day, and I'm representing also the Honourable John Sidoti, Minister for Multiculturalism, who does send his sincerest apologies for being unable to be present today, but he does send you his warmest regards on this conference day. It's incredibly important to come together on days like today to pause and to be open, to listen and to learn not only about the history and the powerful significance of the Assyrian people to the story of humanity, but also to again re-stir the desire to continue to pursue justice and a rightful political and legal and authoritarian recognition of the Assyrian people in our world today. And I also want to particularly acknowledge the young Assyrians who have worked hard to put on today's event. And as the Professor has said, a lot of this vision, a lot of this passion, it must be taken up by the younger generation. People like myself will not be in the positions of honour and of privilege and of influence that we have today. At some point in the future, there will be another young person that will need to step into all of our shoes. And that's why today's events, the information, the knowledge and the passion and the desire must be absorbed and taken up by our younger generation. So for all of the young Assyrians who are here today, who are passionate about continuing to promote your cause and to embrace and to learn more about your history and your future, congratulations and thank you on my behalf from the representative of the people of Mulgara and also the representative of the New South Wales government. And it's wonderful to represent the government here because we also, through Multicultural New South Wales, assisted funding for this year's event, as has been mentioned before. Can I also acknowledge all the work from the Assyrian communities across Western Sydney, Southwestern Sydney, all into Australia and beyond. Thank you for continuing persistence and being stubborn in a way, a good way, but being persistent in a cause. It's that daily, consistent perseverance, which is what achieves results at the end. And I know at times we can grow wearisome, but as the Bible says, do not grow weary while doing good. For in due season, there is a waiting time, for in due season you will reap a harvest. And it's just having that faith and encouraging one another like we are doing today, and having that faith and that perseverance to continue on, keeping on. And that's why I'm pleased to be with you here today to thank you for putting on this important event and for encouraging each other to continue keeping on, keeping on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Davies. Our next speaker recently journeyed back to Assyria in 2018, which was organised by Gishru. Part of his trip included visiting ancient Assyrian towns, ruins, and even the city of Nineveh, Mosul. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Peter Yohanna to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be up here today and have the opportunity to talk about my trip to Assyria. I would like to thank the young Assyrians for the invitation and the opportunity. My main hope is that you get something out of this little talk and that I can get you thinking about the actual possibility of returning to Assyria. Okay? So with that, I'll just get right into it. So I was born and raised here in Sydney, a Fairfield kid like most of us here. I have been to Iraq twice before last year. The first time I went for my uncle's funeral in 2009. I stayed in my parents' hometown and I saw most of my parents' hometown and villages, but it was a very sad event, so I didn't get to travel around Atra and see much of the place. The second time was in 2010, so a year and a bit later. I went to Syria for my cousin's wedding. So basically, we all know how hectic Assyrian weddings can get. So again, I didn't have the opportunity to travel around and see much of Atra. So on January 29th, 2018, the night before I was due to start school again and after my summer holidays had finished, I stayed up thinking about the year ahead and what I was going to do this year and my life, my choices, all that sort of stuff. It was a very existential moment for me. And just randomly, I just decided I wanted to go back to Iraq. Going back to Iraq and seeing it properly was always on my bucket list. It was always something that I wanted to do. So I just got up, like I said, that night, decided I wanted to go. I had heard about this group called Gishru. The name was catchy. I always remembered that name. And I knew that they catered for young Assyrians in the diaspora going back to Iraq. So that night, I searched them up. I searched their website. I saw what I needed to see. I liked what I wanted to see. And just like that, I signed up and I was on my way back to Assyria. So Gishru is a registered non-profit organization. They were established in 2012 and their main activity is organizing and conducting humanitarian and educational trips for Assyrians born in the diaspora to the Assyrian homeland in Turkey and Iraq. Their mission is to strengthen the bond between Assyrians in the diaspora and in the homeland, gain awareness and deep understanding of the community and history of Assyria, renew the responsibility of the diaspora toward the homeland, and build a bridge between Assyrians globally to enrich and preserve the Assyrian identity for generations to come. I believe that is a good and noble mission. I believe it's a necessary mission, and I'm proud to say I became part of the Gishru journey last year. So my Gishru trip lasted for 12 days. The 2 days were spent in the Turabdin region of Turkey and 10 days were spent in Iraq. The itinerary was busy and fun-filled. We visited the villages in the Nineveh Plains region. We visited Nala, Zakho, Arbil and Al-Qush. We took part in the Akito festivities. We also went to the ancient Khannas aqueducts, the ancient city of Numrud, and we also visited the Rabban Hormus and Marmate monasteries. It really was an unforgettable trip. It's not just another trip, but I just wanted to share some highlights that I had. So my major highlight was visiting the Assyrian schools in Nohadra. We visited the Ishtar school as well as the Nasiban school. As a teacher, I was amazed seeing their version of school. They've got old, worn-out tables, small chairs, small classrooms. There's geography and science posters hanging up on the walls, all in Assyrian, of course. And the little students were running around in their little humble uniforms with big eyes, trying to find out more about us as much as we were trying to find out information about them. So we sat in on some classes, we spoke to some students, we felt very inspired and joyful. We met with the principals and the teachers, we talked about their hardships and their struggles, we talked about some of their future hopes and their day-to-day successes. So overall, it was a major highlight for me. The Akito parade was another standout highlight. We marched along with the student union Khoyada and thousands of other Assyrians on the streets of Nohadra. You're on your land, you're seeing your people, you're singing, you're dancing, you're hand in hand. There's beautiful colors and your flag is everywhere. It really is a surreal experience. I specifically remember standing there, taking a look around, and there's the mountains in the distance, and I was just thinking, yeah, good call. Like, I needed to make this trip. So that was another highlight. Another highlight I want to briefly speak about is the Dasht al-Ninweh. We drove through Mosul to get to the Dasht al-Ninweh, the Nineveh Plains region. Okay. We saw the destruction created by ISIS and the towns and the cities that are slowly rebuilding in the aftermath. We went to the great town of Baghdad, which has seen 30,000 of its residents return from the northern towns and the IDP camps. They've reopened their shops and businesses, and they're cleaning up their town and trying to rebuild their lives. They are returning to some form of normality, and they keep hoping and praying for greater prosperity. We saw Marguerite's church that was bombed by ISIS and used as a base. We went through the ISIS tunnels and saw what they saw. The destruction is obvious, and it makes you angry when you see such things, but I think it was a real eye-opener for everyone that saw it. ISIS is gone now, but our people remain, and our people are strong and resilient, and there is a great optimism about it all. We then drove to the nearby NPU base, the Nineveh Plain Protection Units. We ate lunch with the great soldiers and spoke to the Deputy General. Their stories were amazing and inspiring. I was proud to see what great things this little unit of soldiers has achieved. And you look in these soldiers' eyes and you see that there is a great strength and a great Assyrian pride. And that just makes you feel better about the current situation. We Assyrians, we don't have the best current situation, obviously, but I think we have the best people where it counts, and that's something to be positive about. This day in Dasht al-Ninweh really opened my eyes towards that prospect, and I came to many realizations. So there's the tunnels and there's the bombed out church. By chance, there was a wedding going on, and it was decorated, and it looked really nice, even though it was in that state. We visited Semele, and that naturally became a highlight of the trip too. Throughout the years growing up, we were all taught about the tragic events of Semele and the dark chapter that it was for Assyrians. We went and saw the Semele site. It's not a historically protected site like it should be, and it's not even a respected site by the local authorities. We saw the human bones of our ancestors among the dirt, and we said our prayers for the deceased. Our Gushra Tour leader, Dr. Joe Danavi, gave a beautiful and informative historical narration of the events of Semele, and we were all silent and quiet for a while. Seeing a special site like that really makes you think, and it makes you obviously feel a lot of emotions. We were grateful for the experience. The last highlight I want to mention is our overnight stay in Nala. Nala was a major highlight for all of us because it was just so natural and so fun. Nala is one of the last pure Assyrian regions. So in the villages, you see your flag raised on buildings, on houses, and it's all Assyrian. We were very welcomed in Nala. The Assyrians everywhere are very welcoming, but in Nala, we were so welcome that you actually feel like you're from Nala and that you've just returned after a long, long absence. And it was just a special day. We got to Nala late in the evening. Our khuya, the hosts, had prepared the local hall for us. There was a lot of food, drinks, singing and dancing. Everyone was singing Ashur Bitsargi songs until the midnight hour when the power cut off. And then we drove out of the village in pure darkness. We went towards the mountains, built a campfire, and we kept partying for another couple of hours. And that's the highlight. The next day we woke up, we made bread in a traditional tanura with one of the village elders. We had a great breakfast, and then we explored more of Nala. We saw the spring waters, the green hills, the farms. It really was a picturesque day in Assyria. People always ask me, what did I get out of the trip? The two main things that I got out of the trip was connection and inspiration. Okay? Connection with the people and the homeland is priceless. I'm still in regular contact with most of the Gishru participants from America and from Sweden. Peter, the gentleman up there, he's from America. He's visited Australia a few times since then. We've gone out. We're proud. I proudly call him my friend now. Okay. We also made a lot of friends in the homeland itself. Thanks to various social media, we're able to keep up to date with what's going on in their life, what their current situation is like, and we call each other friends, and we are friends. So my point is the connection aspect of the trip is real. You're connected to people in the homeland. You meet new Assyrians that have like-minded ideas. You share your ideas, and the connection just kicks off, and it's really worthwhile. Inspiration. Inspiration is everywhere. Once you touch down, you see your ancestral homeland, you see the villages, you see the churches, the historical artifacts, and it just lifts you up and fills you up with good emotions and good vibes. You're inspired to create more, help more, learn more, and do more for the Assyrian cause. You're not going to save the whole Assyrian nation by going on this Gishru trip, but you will feel many positive feelings and you will be inspired and motivated. And that's better than nothing. And that something can turn into something even bigger. Okay? So Gishru understands the need to contribute. Every year, Gishru participants canvass and survey sites for potential projects that will support the sustenance and growth of the Assyrians. Project proposals are drafted in coordination with the Assyrian Aid Society, and one project is eventually selected and funded by the trip's participants' fundraising efforts. Last year, we were so inspired by our time in Nala that we chose to assist the people of Nala for the annual Gishru project. We went back to the diaspora and we started fundraising. The project was to update and expand the irrigation channels within the particular villages of the Nala region. The current channels were very limited and in poor condition. The Assyrians of Nala are primarily farmers, so this project would not only support their livelihoods, but ensure their sustenance. With the help of the Assyrian Aid Society, we were quoted $10,000 US to complete the project. Within 3 months, we raised $10,150, and the work on the channels and the irrigation channels was completed this year. So this is an example of inspiration and a desire to help. Inspiration and a desire to help that we would not have had unless we went and saw Nala and we went and saw the situation with our own eyes. There's no magical solution to getting our nation back or solving all the problems. I think it's just basically one project at a time, one village at a time, one brick at a time, working together, and then like I said, this trip helped me realize all that. Just some important things I'd like to mention about the trip. Gishro is an independent organization but has a coalition of support on the ground in Assyria. Without their main partners, Khuyada, the Chaldo-Assyrian Student and Youth Union, Assyrian Democratic Party, and the Assyrian Aid Society, the trip would just not be as successful or possible. So I wanted to acknowledge the importance of these groups in making the Gishro trip possible. Another thing that I always get asked about since my return is the issue of safety. Gishro is committed to bringing an unforgettable and experience to all its participants in a safe environment. I never personally felt unsafe at all, and we went through various towns, various villages, we went through various checkpoints. I never felt unsafe because of the partner organizations and the well-planned and well-coordinated itinerary and schedule. But just like visiting any other foreign country, we have to be aware of the local etiquette and taking measures. When you arrive, you're given a safety briefing by the Gishro tour members, and I can assure you you're in safe hands. So if you're thinking about going, just go. For the youth out there, make the decision, join the journey, just go. You won't regret it. So in conclusion, I hope I've articulated how great and beneficial this trip to Assyria was for me and for many others. I think it's vital we all go and see the homeland. It is vital to build that connection and feel that inspiration. I think this is the only way forward for Assyrians. We have to build our Gishra to the homeland and continue learning, working, sacrificing, and doing all we can for the cause. Thank you for listening to my little presentation, and I hope to see you in Assyria someday.
Thank you, Peter. I'm sure after your presentation, a lot of us feel very inspired to return back to our homeland, hopefully in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now break for tea and coffee. I invite those of you who are interested in joining the Young Assyrians to please visit Liana at the front desk, and she'll take down your details. We'll have a short break, about 10 minutes. Help yourself to some sweets and tea and coffee on the table. And when we come back, we'll have a live interview from our homeland in Assyria. Thanks.